Welcome back to the Consciously Creating Your 2025 Online Summit. I am so excited to have my very dear friends here, Emalee and Debbie Kemp at the Kawartha Mediums. And we're here just to chat with you about all things magical, intuitive, and 2025. And I'm sure that you guys are going to get a lot of wisdom. So be sure to have your favorite pen and some paper and write those little gems down. And be excited to just be here in this space all together. So welcome, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Sam.
you for
Hi,
inviting us.
everybody.
Hello.
Mother-daughter duo here. So natural bicker only. We bicker with love, but we're so excited to be here and so honored that Sam invited us to be part of this summit. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, you're so welcome. Anytime I get to spend with you guys is a good time. So why don't you share with everybody a little bit about what is Kawartha Mediums and how did you guys get started?
Oh, okay. Well,
Whoa, loaded question.
we'll try and make a long, like flowing story a little bit shorter, but yes. So we're daughter, mother duo here. And both of us have our own stories about how we entered into the spiritual world.
I'll start.
Go for it.
Okay,
Go for
I
it.
started like about 30 years ago, attending a spiritualist church, taking lessons, like where you're practicing twice a week on the podium on a Sunday. And so I came up from a very almost rigorous background where, you did certain things a certain way. And that was a what I did that for many years. I left it for a while and then wound up coming back. Your turn.
Yeah, so my entry into the world was through my beautiful mother. I was raised in the Catholic Church, Catholic school, but then I was also brought into the spiritualist church. And it was for a little bit when my introduction into it, I actually thought, like, I don't know, is this make-believe or what's going on, or what am I seeing, hearing, and feeling? And it wasn't until I started actually practicing at a very young age, connecting with spirit, connecting with auras, and having people come up to me in the spiritualist church and ask questions and want messages and check in with their auras, that I started to understand like this was an actual thing that people can develop and work with. And for me, I hit the pause button for quite some time, realizing not everybody does this. This isn't something that's like the norm across the land.
I have to jump in and say Emilee's dad is also a medium and an awesome healer.
Yes, that's true. So I have the background in it. It's in the family. But realizing that this isn't something that everybody does, I hit the pause button in my young adult life. And it wasn't until I became a mother myself that I dove back into the intuitive realm, and we went full tilt, starting actually in the barn, believe it or not. We started doing intuitive development circles, just trying it out with a small group of people called Healing in the Hay. There was like 5 of us in the barn, healing in the hay, horses and chickens and all of it.
Because we're in a small town and we could not find anything. So we're like, okay, we'll have to do this ourselves. And, so that's how it started. There was a few interested people, I believe, in meditation, and it just started to grow.
And it took off from there. We ended up having our own space, growing into a bigger space. COVID hit, going online and going internationally, and teaching intuitive development, doing psychic mediumship readings, and led us to this realm, to this world.
Go on all day.
I know.
The stuff.
We'll try and cut it. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, Sam.
No, that's totally great. And I love some of the things you're pointing out, because I too, realized not everybody does this. It was a lot younger. I was like 5 years old or 6 years old. And I heard one of my aunts say, "Oh, look, Sammy's talking to her invisible friends again." And I was like, invisible means they can't see you. You're not real. Right. And so I think we all come into this, but I can remember being pregnant and intuition and my connection just exploding. Like, you're not keeping it in a box during that time for me anyhow. And, so going into the world of social work and education, it was not an acceptable belief system to have there. So it was like I had my me at home, and then I had my me when I was at work, right? And what a beautiful life we can live, that we can just be ourselves whenever we are, wherever we are now, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big shift.
And I think there's been a shift too with, people with social work or, different
Mhm.
modalities. It's blending because as mediums and
Absolutely.
psychics and things, we can see through a
Mhm.
lot of the facades
Yeah.
that people put up. And I find that it's been really beneficial working with people and helping
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah, we've
Absolutely.
connected with clients that are in that field, in the coaching field, in the different realms. And the beauty of connecting with your intuition and working with psychic mediumship is that you have the opportunity to not only connect with your client's perspective, but the perspective of those in their life based on what you can
Absolutely.
channel through from spirit and their own energy. So
Yep.
it's a really cool experience for sure.
It sure is. I remember when I was doing social work, and I was doing investigations, and I'd
Mm.
go back to my supervisor and say, okay, so this and this I can verify. This and this is also true. I'll get back to you on that. And, I can remember after I stopped working in that field, my supervisor called the one day and he goes, this makes so much more sense. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, I thought you just had really good informants. And I'm like, oh, I do. I just couldn't tell you about them. Right?
You have the best informants.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think everyone realizes until they dive in how much developing their intuition, how much developing their own ability to connect with source, the universe, spirit, whatever's guiding them, helps them in every area of their life.
Yeah,
Not just,
big time.
with us in, intuitive work, but in every area of life, right? I was chatting with a gentleman. His wife comes for readings. She's come for a long, long, long time, and he didn't. But if I did a house party, he'd listen in and whatever.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so he said to me, I think about a year ago, he said, you know what? I think you're onto something, because I got a message to move my hand. He works in a factory. He's like, if I hadn't done that, I would have lost my arm.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
And
Yes.
I'm like, tell your friends. Tell your friends this, because that's the real stuff with intuition that we get all the time. It's just often
Big
ignored.
time. Yes. And Debbie and I find that we have like two streams, and they usually tend to merge, of clients that want to develop their intuition. And a big one is those that just want more confidence and trust in their own decisions,
Yeah.
understanding that they're not alone. And then of course those individuals that already understand that, but they want to learn how to do that for others and read
Yeah,
for others and help others. So yeah,
absolutely.
you could use it for everything.
I know, it's so great. It's so great. Now, right now, I think we're in a really unique time. So, you can think
Yes.
back, and definitely, Debbie, you can too, of when you first were developing and the outside world, and realizing that not everybody could do this. And that journey we've taken from way back when it was done secretly in, very small rooms with very few people knowing. And now it's like, yeah, I talk to dead people, that whole evolution. But I think more and more people are waking up to the idea that they can connect. And so what do you guys think about that whole, like, the difference between who's coming to you now compared to 10 years ago?
Good question.
It's definitely more readily available and understood. I think when we first started in the spiritualist church, it was the understanding that we were here to prove life after death,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the spirit does carry on. And now we're finding individuals already get that, they understand it, they acknowledge it, they know it, and they're looking for, okay, that guidance, that counseling, that's what's next. So when people look to seek guidance from a psychic medium or an intuitive coach, it's all across the board. Men, women. When we did our last circle in our physical space, we had 50-50, like 50% men, 50%
Oh,
women, which was
wow.
really unusual. It's usually women that are open to this process. So not only is it men and women, it's people, it's lawyers, it's therapists, it's social workers, it's doctors, it's nurses, it's moms, it's dads, it's grandparents, it's retirees. It's all over the spectrum, and everybody is comfortable, usually coming into the space and understanding the significance of what type of insights that people can provide. And it's not the dirty little secret anymore. Like,
No.
if we're going to talk to it on one end of the materialistic piece, like this is over a $2 billion industry and growing. And those
Yeah.
numbers are from like
There a while ago,
2022.
yeah.
And then from the other spectrum, we're considered wellness coaches now. We're not just that dirty little secret of, oh, I'm going to get my fortune told. People come for life advice and guidance and a way to move forward. So it's a totally different world than that, like that dark room or that private reading room where you come and sneak in kind of
I
thing.
remember the one time how we were always taught, you say, "Oh, I'm not a doctor and I don't diagnose." And we were teaching the class, and there was two of them, and the one lady goes, "But I am a doctor." And
I am a doctor.
and it's like, we're here, we're doctors. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, right.
Which
Like
was almost
how,
unheard of
yeah, how
before.
far that they've come. Like the
It's so
whole,
funny you say
everything has
that
come.
because I say that too. I'm like, we're not doctors. We don't diagnose unless you're a doctor, in which case you'll
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
say where the information's coming from. Is it coming from spirit? Is it coming intuitively, or is it coming from a book? Right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was so, you're so used to saying it. And then the lady go, "Oh yeah, but we are doctors." And I'm like, okay, this is a whole new world from where I came from. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Years ago, I was taking past life regression with Dr. Brian Weiss at Omega. And
Mm,
there was probably 600 people in the class. It was a huge class.
Oh,
And a
wow.
lot of them were doctors. A lot of them were
That's
doctors. And it was
awesome.
so fascinating. I was chatting with one of them, and he had said, there are so many illnesses we don't understand. It's got to come from somewhere. So I came here to learn more. And I was like, I love
Oh,
that.
isn't
that's
it great?
amazing.
I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
I love the direction that people are moving towards. It can't get better than that. Like just people being open to the experience and understanding the energetics of it. And it's a whole new world, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So speaking of whole new world, we're kind of in the motions of a whole new world right now. I think it's fair to say over the past 5 years, our world has changed significantly,
Mhm.
and we know that it's changing even more. What are people saying to you or sharing with you about the changes in energy and the changes of our world? Essentially, all of our structures coming down and getting shifted and reorganized. And what are some of the things that your clients are coming to you about?
I think, Sam, the biggest thing that they're coming towards with us is that understanding that they're not alone, which was really big. I think it was a huge mental health, and there is a huge mental health crisis. A lot of people were turning to traditional formats of dealing with that and avenues, and understanding now that some of these things that they thought were may very well have been mental health issues, but also the understanding like there's something more. And I think that's a really common phrase, don't you
Yeah.
think, that they come to us like I know there's something more. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I know. And then I was compelled to reach out to you. And once they're connecting with spirit, connecting with the universe, connecting with the divine, however you want to call it, they start to understand the synchronicities. They start to understand those subtle nudges, and they start to get the confidence and trust, and seeing that they're growing and developing, and there is a path, there is a purpose, there is a passion for them. So for a long time, people felt really lost. And I think now being open to this world that we're in intuitively, they're finding direction, they're finding purpose, they're educating themselves, they're exploring. A lot more lifelong learners are coming into the world. And it's really cool. And it's elevating us all consciously into that next level, which is a really cool experience to be part of that in our lifetime.
And I think what's important to us and what we've found these times that are coming up, that if they're coming as to get a reading, we can kind of validate that their feelings are real.
Yes.
Or
That's
that
big.
their mental health is real, or things in the past have impacted them, and it gives them that boost to say, holy jumping, she believes, or she sees what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big part of what we do. And I have to say here, Emalee and I read totally different. Like
Yeah.
we are such different personalities, as Sam probably knows. but somehow spirit connects it. Spirit brings us together and lets us help people that way.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it, like Emily's saying, showing people the way.
Yeah.
Not telling them how to do it, but letting them do it for themselves, discover it for themselves.
Yeah,
It's important.
absolutely. And I'm seeing that too, that whole idea around, oh my gosh, you actually see me. You see me,
Yes.
right? I'm hearing that a lot as
Absolutely.
well. And, this might be people might not love my opinion here, but something I've observed, I had a brother that had schizophrenia and definitely worked with lots of clients in the social work realm with schizophrenia. And I have found that they are often mediums. They just don't know it. And certainly, if you're in a clinical session, you can't really say that. But
No.
in this way,
Yeah.
you can say, tell me more about the different things you're receiving. Because if you have somebody who's getting so much information, essentially that's what we get as mediums. We get information, whether it's through what we're feeling, hearing, seeing, whatever. But if you're someone who has no boundaries energetically and you're getting it from all sides, that's overwhelming, right? And so
Absolutely.
certainly not discounting mental health help, because that's something requiring some mental health help as well, but it still plays a role in developing the intuition piece around it. And I remember chatting with one gentleman and he said to me, I'm not saying that I don't have, he called it sickness. I don't have sickness, he said, but he said, my whole body reacts to a particular medication. As soon as they say the name, my whole body reacts. I know I'm not supposed to take that. He's like, how do I tell them without sounding crazier than they already think I am, that I don't think I can take that, but I'm not discounting that I need their help. And I thought that was so profound. And we had this great conversation around, what does your body tell you? What are the energetics in your makeup that are giving you messages all the time? And that's all we did. We worked on ways to communicate that to other people without, in his words, sounding crazier than he already did. And it was really, really helpful for him, right? So I just love how it can just be brought into so many different areas and spheres of life.
True. It's beautiful.
Yes. And I think that inner knowing and inner trust, when someone is developing their gifts and their connection to their own inner guidance, and Debbie and I call it your inner pendulum, it's huge. You see the weight just lifted off of them. They felt stuck for so long and stagnant, and now they can move forward. That's what really lights us up, seeing that experience in real time and having people just soar.
Yeah.
It's why we do what we do.
I know. I just love it too. I love it as well. And it's funny. I have little rules around, like, one reading a year is all I do for people. First of all, it helps with the time wait long. And it also, I want them to trust their own intuition. So I'll just say, move on into coaching. Okay. We got to work on why you aren't trusting yourself first. And it's so fun to watch people like, I don't know that I even believe in this too. Okay, now tell me how much I should charge for reading. Like, to watch that elevation,
Yeah.
and going through that.
Yes.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun.
You know what's the best, Sam? We have students from the past, like we're going back even 10 years, but most of our people have stayed with us in some point. But to go to a psychic fair or go to events, and the readers are our readers.
Yes, our past clients that we've taught, and some of them were exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not sure I believe in this. I don't even think I'm intuitive. And now we get to say hi at the fairs. Like,
yeah, they have their own group. They do the fairs, and it's like, there are people, Em. Like, you've got to come and see how good they are.
And I think, like, that's what I meant when I said we have, two streams of clientels, the ones who just want to know they're not alone and help make decisions and build that confidence and trust, and the ones that want to be of service
and go, hell yeah.
A huge amount of them merge, and they turn to wanting to be of service and doing readings, just like you said. So it's fun to watch that progression, that journey.
It really is so much fun. So let's look at the year 2025 a little bit. What are some of the big themes you guys see coming up for just everyday folks who might be watching?
Yes. So something that Debbie and I have been chatting about coming up and into 2025 is we really see it kind of being like the awakening is what we call it, where people really start to understand that like they want to be more authentic. They want to be more transparent. They want to have more like resilience in making their decisions and being confident and moving forward. But at the same time, they're like yearning to strip away everything that's not serving them.
Yeah.
And I know that's happened since, 2020 with COVID. People started to feel that rumbling, but now they're like, this is it. We're doing it. It might have suited old patterning. It might have suited, old limiting beliefs or who they were before. But now they're acknowledging, well, that's not me. That's not like the Emalee or the Debbie or the Sam of 2025, and recognizing that and just stripping it away and really becoming more a life of simplicity and alignment with who they are and what their purpose is.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it earlier that Debbie and I talk about it as your inner pendulum. But I think a lot more people, like your gentleman with the medication, are checking in with themselves and going within and going, you know what? Like, just because someone's telling me to do it, or I used to think I have to do it, it's not in alignment with me. So I'm not going to move in that direction. But you know what? This is. So I'm going to move in that direction.
Yeah.
So a lot more awakening into what's for them and what's not, and actually taking active steps into what is their purpose, what's their passion, what lights them up. And it's a really beautiful experience to see that at the tail end of 2024 and moving into 2025. So
there's no more time. People don't want to spend the time on the BS, right? They just
Yeah,
want to live with that
essentially.
intention. And I, and it's so exciting. Well, I have it a little easier because I'm older. I have age for my benefit where I can live in the present because you're
You've had
just
the experience, been there, done that.
that.
And
And
she gets away with anything.
yeah, I do. I have to
She
say
does.
some of this stuff that comes out of my mouth when we're teaching, and it's like it works, right? It makes people hunker down and realize, like, live with intention, live with your heart, live in peace with yourself. Like, don't be reaching all the time for the future or looking back in the past.
Yeah.
This is the time now where we have to live with
Well,
intention.
and that's the other, I love that you said that, because we've noticed a lot less people reaching externally for validation and going within for
Yeah.
that validation, which is really cool. And I'd love to see more of that in 2025. And the other piece that I'm seeing now is even us intuitives or empaths, like that we hunker down. We're like, we're home buddies now. We don't go out, are being called to do more in-person things. And I know myself, I'm a private person. I love my home space. I'm very much like, a hobbit, maybe, I don't know, or a
Me
hermit.
too.
Or a
I
hermit.
am the person who could be alone in the woods for 6 months and be
Exactly.
totally fine.
Yes. But even I feel like the universe is calling us to make that in-person connection again. And the virtual world is still going to thrive. And of course, we live in that virtual world. But I think emerging in 2025, a virtual in-person is what the universe is calling us to do. People need that energetic connection, that community vibration that we've been missing over the last
Shine
few
our
years.
light. And you know what else too? Claim our power. We are powerful people in the sense that we help people, like we spread our love, we spread our knowledge, we're lovers and givers. So we're out there, not just touching people, just looking at people can help heal
Just
them.
listening to people
Oh,
is
that's a
big.
big one. It's a
Yeah,
little hard to
absolutely. I think that stay-at-home period was a great opportunity for people to really realize what it feels like to be in their own body, what it feels like to be in silence, what it feels like to not be busy and everything. But now they're like so over it, right? And
Yeah.
and that whole idea around they don't want an Instagram life anymore. They just want to be them, unfiltered. Like Debbie, you're saying, you can get away with saying it. I think more and more people are feeling less filtered, right? We
Yeah.
went through that whole spiritual movement where everything had to be love and kumbaya and we never get angry. That's not real. We all still are having a human experience. And I find more and more people now are just saying, this is who I am today. This is who I am today. And
Yeah.
and really
Yeah.
being okay with what's in there, right? I find less taboo censorship. People are like,
Yes.
oh, I don't know, people might think I'm weird. And meanwhile, they'll say, oh, this is who I am. I'm like, okay, going back to that inner child of, okay, it's just my friends. Like, that's just how they are, right? We think
Yes.
about kindergarten and, they're like, oh, well, that person's different. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Here. So
Exactly. I
bringing in
love
that
that.
inner child to now, a lot of people are like, there are big issues in the world. I don't need to care what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Just everybody shine your own light and be you, and let's, come together. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful merging of what's gone on over the last little while.
Well,
Oh yeah,
you
for
would
sure.
you would laugh, Sam, because one of our big things that our students, our people all know is we give them permission to go rogue,
Yeah, that's our
especially
word.
yeah,
Permission to
especially
go rogue.
coming from the structure and things where everything had to be name, rank, serial number. A lot of you all know that. Now that we're kind of like, okay, you have permission to go rogue. If something is pulling you that way, like bring it closer,
Yeah.
learn
If
and
we're
move
telling you to
forward.
see and you're hearing, or if you're drawing, whatever it is that's
Yeah.
coming through in the way that it's coming through, allow that to happen instead of stunting your growth
All
by
the time.
thinking
Yeah.
you have to do it a certain way.
And we have had some crazy results, like some of our people, like I know one lady, she's a celebrant, a funeral celebrant,
Mm-hmm.
but she's a really good medium. So when she's doing the funeral celebration, she's already gone back, talked to the person that might be laid out on the floor
That's in
there,
spirit.
in spirit, yes, talked to them, found out some really intriguing stories.
Shared memories,
And people are
experiences.
like, how did you know that? And she kind of laughs to herself because you're dead people, you're what's person in
Your
spirit,
loved one in
loved
spirit
one in spirit
shared it.
told me, like people have expanded more than just being a medium,
Yeah.
like the healing, it all comes in so many different forms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we get excited about, right?
Yeah.
Is to see
That authenticity,
Yeah.
that uniqueness is really cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
it
All
really
spirit
is.
led.
My hope is that at some point we're going to just all be so in tune with that intuitive, mediumistic, expansive self that we won't have to say I'm a medium. You'll just be
Right.
talking. Do you know what I
Yeah, you'll
mean?
just
Like,
be doing your
we're
thing.
just going
Yes.
to be, doing us. And, and I think we're getting there. So many more people are open to, they didn't have to verbally talk for a little while, right? So they're like, oh, I feel
Mhm.
like my mom needs me, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. And they're like, oh, I never used to do that before COVID. I never used to trust that, but they
That's
do now,
cool.
right? So I think although no one wants to relive that, especially those of us in Canada, there's still some beauty that came from it. And I think that 2025 is where we see that garden start to blossom.
I think I
Absolutely.
agree with you, Sam.
Yeah,
I do.
that shedding of what doesn't serve us and that authenticity, for sure. That seed's been planted.
It has been. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So before we go, if there was like one lesson that each of you could share for people who are watching, maybe some of them are experiencing some fear of the unknown of what's coming up. Some of them might be excited. Some of them might have changed their whole darn life and don't know what they're doing with it yet. What's some of the wisdom that each of you can share with those watching?
Oh, absolutely. So number one on my list for everybody would be grounding. That's huge for us. So we have a big, boisterous family. Debbie and I do a lot of work, events, and things like that. So chaos is kind of follows us. And the one thing that really, gets us centered, keeps us sane is grounding. And part of that grounding is being in nature. Part of that grounding is breath work, because something that I've noticed, over the span of all the time that we've been doing this work is a lot of people, they know, like, of course I'm breathing, right? We breathe. We wouldn't be alive if we didn't breathe. But that deep, intentional breathing, like right down into the solar plexus, not many of us give ourselves time to do that and to be in nature and to ground so that you're able to have that kind of steady foundation going into any fear or any troubling times or places or people that kind of throw us off balance. And the other big thing that Debbie and I go back to on like a daily basis is our intuitive tools. So that we call it our toolbox that we pull from. So whether you're having that moment of chaos and just can't seem to connect with your intuition, with spirit, pull an oracle or a tarot card. Maybe it's a crystal that resonates with you, or maybe it's just simply like reconnecting with your intuition and just asking the universe, asking spirit, like, what do I need to know right now? And this one drives Debbie nuts a little bit. I'm going to admit that, because usually in the midst of chaos, she's like, how dare this happen or whatever. My first reaction is like, okay, spirit,
Let's pull a card.
what are you teaching us in this moment, right? Like, what am I supposed to be learning that, it's driving me nuts, but what do I need to know? And yes, we'll pull a
Pull a
card.
card. It works. It
Or
works.
connect with ourselves. But really, it's just like having that intention each day, like whether it's pulling a card or connecting with spirit and setting that intention of, what's your true north? Like, what's your inner pendulum telling you, so that when poop hits the fan or something's going on or a loss or chaos, you always can go back to that true north of, where you're grounded, where you're balanced, where you're not alone. And from that point, you can get through anything.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you, Sam, I have a different way, and I don't know how many people.
She adds this flavor to it.
Because
spice it up.
Well, I go out in the morning.
We'll keep it PG for here, but she'll tell you.
I go out in the morning to take the dogs because somebody said, oh, go out in the dawn, which is BS because it's cold and you have to take the big breath and you're,
it's cold
you're watching for the coyotes and you're taking the big breath because you're like, whoo, whoo, whoo. But also what I do a lot is I swear, okay? Like
in her head, out
in
loud.
my head, whatever. And I explained it to Emalee when we were talking. I have a pattern that if I get to something that's kind of slaps me and I'm like,
chaos, problems, obstacles,
in my mind, I'll say,
WTF.
WTF. And honestly, it's programmed my brain that as soon as I look and I say that, or I feel it and I say that, my brain takes the backwards and reprograms it.
Yeah, it just kind of resets that energetically, like WTF, boom.
Oh, and it's like, okay, I can look at it again. So I'm not really great with, taking all of the real proper precaution or the steps that I should take. So I say that a lot of the times during the day, during the readings, I'm like, wherever I am, I say those 3 words and it rewires my brain.
I love
it. Like you said, it doesn't have to be all
fancy, and you don't have to meditate for an hour every day to be intuitive or connected, or it's that structure that a lot of us love to have. Like, I need structure, I need the strategy behind it, when in reality, like, we're all different. We're all going to do it in a different way, whether it's swearing or
I bet they're all saying it in their head, trying it out.
Yeah. Do you know what else, though? I think they're thinking that's so refreshing. Because when you're having a human experience, right? And you are frustrated, you're feeling blocked, you don't know what to do. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to, namaste this away.
Yeah.
Some people are not, that doesn't work for them, right? What the fuck can really help them? Because let's get the attention. We're good, right? And
you go, girl.
I know there's people watching that are like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And you know what? You guys will have to watch Vanessa's interview too, because Vanessa does a what the fuck really, really well. And
Oh,
she's
yeah.
her
Yes.
and you'll love her. But you know what? I think that is that authenticity coming out, right? That not needing to censor. And I think it's a beautiful thing. You know, these words offend people because we were told they were offensive.
Mhm.
But I know, because I know you well enough to know that when they're going through your head, you're not trying to offend yourself or anyone else. It's a matter of you just
No.
trying to go, what the fuck, right? It's just not working. And so I think too, we have to kind of look at some of these words and some of the meanings behind them and say, okay, so why does everything have to be so offensive right now? It's okay. Like, it's okay that for Emily, it's a WTF, and for Deb, it's a what the fuck. That's
Yeah.
totally okay. Right?
It's kind of for both of us, but we've been trained doing Facebook Lives how to say things so we don't get banned for a
Yes.
certain amount of time.
But it's so cool, Emily, when we're, Emily will go, oh, let's pull a card. I'll go, oh, what the fuck? But I'm right there. I'm right there looking at that damn card because it guides us, right?
Yeah.
It does.
I might
Yeah.
not,
It's that
so
grounding
true.
rod. That's
Yeah.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
It is.
It's
Absolutely.
the reset, the ground, and now we're moving forward. So
Yeah, I love that. And just to echo what you guys were talking about, that whole idea of things happen for us, not to us. And when we
yes.
can keep that in the perspective, like even though right now I feel the muck and it feels awful, somehow it's happening for us. And I think when we
Absolutely.
rewind and look at all of the events in our world, right?
Yep.
They all happened for us, and even though they were uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
anything that comes up will be the same, right?
Yes, big time. That's something that Debbie and I use often is the term co-creating, right? You're
Absolutely.
co-creating with the universe, you're co-creating with spirit. And it's part of the process. Even those icky times, even those hard times, it's part of our growth process. It's part of the human experience. And sometimes it takes a year, sometimes 10 years before you realize, oh, that had to happen in order for this experience or for order for me to understand this. And that's something big. Our intuitive entrepreneurs, some of them come to us and they feel so depleted because they're like, I did 10 years of schooling in this, or I used to do this, or I've worked at this job for 30 years. Is that all a waste? No.
No.
Everything that we've done before this led us to this moment and gave us all the tools that we need to be able to be of service and help people in the way that we needed to.
Yeah,
So all of
absolutely.
those experiences are so important. And you're right. It's like we're part of this. We're co-creating with spirit and noticing those subtle impressions and those nudges and moving ahead with where spirit's guiding us is so important.
Yeah.
And I
really
like,
is.
yeah, sorry, Sam.
No,
I
go
like to remind people when the poop is hitting the fan, don't say, oh, what's next?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay? Because they will show you the crap that's coming
Yes.
next.
Yeah,
Right? We've learned
totally.
that. Yeah.
That I mean, again, it's not said with bad intentions, but
No,
that would be more of a swear word to Debbie and I would be like, oh, what? No, right?
yeah, we not what's next? Oh, they'll have to up their game.
Mhm.
Okay, here you go. Sprinkle a little of that shit on there too,
Yeah,
right?
we get what we ask for.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
totally.
spirit has a way that if they brought you a sign or tried to move you in a direction and you're not listening, it's like, and the rug gets pulled
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
So, and it's not to punish you or anything like that. It's
very
just to
true.
get your attention, right? So, yeah, we
Absolutely.
don't say what's next.
Perfect. I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of the summit. I love connecting with you, and I know everyone here has been really enjoying seeing you guys interacting and wanting to connect with you too. So what is the best way that people can find you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for
Thank
having us
you.
here. We've enjoyed this so much and love this
We
experience.
haven't talked this much for a while.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Probably the best way to connect with us. Debbie and I, we do regular intuitive development programs, but a really safe entry into our world and to get a little bit more of a taste of who we are. We do have a free Facebook group of over 14,000 intuitives just like yourselves watching, and like us, we live in there, we have some fun in there, and it's called the Psychic Empath Experience. And in there, we have in the guide section free trainings and videos and master classes and stuff like that. But there's also this beautiful safe space and community where intuitives ask questions, entrepreneurs, and those of us who've been in the intuitive realm for some time give feedback and understanding and answer questions. And it's really just this awesome
Been a
community
good group.
of non-judgmental intuitives that kind of get together and collectively live in that space and share, ask questions, and learn and develop their intuition. So that's our favorite way to kind of get to know us.
But
So-
you could email us at kawarthamediums@gmail.com.
And that's our website as well, kawarthamediums.com. And we have the link to the free group on our website and to some of our trainings as well. So
And sometimes I use my, what do you call it, telepath.
she telepathically responds to emails sometimes.
So sometimes you might want to send two if you did get the first one.
Yes.
I am
Sorry.
laughing because I've so totally done that.
I know.
You respond in your mind, and if you didn't get it, I'm sorry, right? Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much again. I'm really looking forward to always seeing you again. I'll see you, I'm sure, in the summer in Lilydale. And
absolutely.
I'm looking forward as well to our next video. So stay tuned, guys, and definitely reach out to these fun ladies and develop your intuition further. I'll look forward to connecting with you soon.